Hello, this is wmpyr here to talk about Filipino martial arts once again. And this time I'm here to say that Filipino martial arts is Escrima, Kali, Arnis. They are military martial arts. Okay. So, in other words, they are part of military combatives. Okay. So, here in the U.S., the Marines, they learn combatives in the modern Army combatives program. Um, there's basic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that is taught within that program, but they're also taught at least later on. They're taught some basic stick fighting Filipino martial arts stuff as well. So that's in there. Now, if you go to the Philippines, in the Philippines, it is uh, taught to the Marines over there, and it's also taught to the police over there as well today, present time. Okay, so it is actually used in the Filipino military today. Now, that's also probably Filipino martial arts is incorporated in some other military organizations around the world, global. So it is you know respected by many militaries and used by many military programs all over the world. Okay, so I'm here to talk about what exactly, other than okay, so it's actually used by the military. Why? Why is that so? Well, first of all, in the case of the Philippines, the Philippines is made up of thousands of islands. So you can imagine that it's very easy for a terrorist group to hide. When your country is just made up of thousands of islands, it's going to be very difficult to track them all. I would imagine. Um, and every year, in the Philippines, they usually get attacked by terrorists. At least one major terrorist attack in the Philippines to this day. So the military, the Marines and stuff, are deployed to combat that. So they're on high-speed mortar boats, and they got to go into the jungles, and they got to go from island to island, and they go seeking these terrorist groups, of course, right? Um, so when they do that, they are out in the wilderness, so they carry a knife because not because they expect to fight with a knife, but I believe the knife, when you're out in the wilderness, it's just a very useful tool. Opening packages, maybe a little bit of cooking, maybe trying to make some tinder or something like that. It's just useful. So you're gonna have a knife, period. Okay, and then of course, if you could fight with a knife, that's a good thing as well, right? And but more so than actually doing combat with a knife, I'm sure you could go sneak up behind the bad guy and use the knife to take him out silently. But I think that's more in the movies. I would think that situation's pretty rare. Okay, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's got to be really rare for that to happen. I think more likely is that you didn't expect the bad guy to show up and get close to you, and now you have a rifle and you have your pistol, which should be your main weapon if you're military. You need to protect that. So you're using the knife to protect yourself against getting your weapon taken away from you. So your main weapon is the rifle and the pistol. So the knife is there. So in other words, you're going to be using it with a left hand, not your main hand. So chances are your main hand is your right hand. So the left hand is there to defend against them taking your rifle away. So in other words, the knife is kind of used the same way that a police officer would use it right there. Okay, so it's to protect your weapon from being taken away. So that means being able to use the knife with the left hand is very important. And thankfully, in Filipino martial arts, we train both hands. So especially when it comes to knife, then using it with the left hand, if you're military or police, it's really, really important to be able to use it comfortably with your left hand. So in that sense, Filipino martial arts is unlike many other martial arts styles, that it will help you develop your left hand-eye coordination, and going from sticks to knives and empty hand as well. So it can really, really help out there. So it makes sense. It really makes sense from that point of view. Now, using the knife for actual combat, like you see in the movie The Hunted and stuff, remember that guy in The Hunted he's special ops. It's a very, very, very specific thing that he's doing. And he had the backup of his team members. They knew his specialty. He would crawl in. They're letting him know when to go. They're covering him and all that. So it's not a one-man show kind of thing. So for a platoon to have that kind of skill set and to be able to operate that way, I think is extremely rare. Okay, so let me just put it that way. That's a very special. I'm not saying it's impossible, and it might be based on reality much more than one would think, but like I said, it's a very rare type of situation. So I'm thinking using the knife for combat is more so for your mindset and your spirit, because let's think about it. If a military soldier is in a position where, even though he has all this equipment like assault rifles and pistols and grenades and stuff, and for some reason he's in a situation where he needs to use the knife against the opponents, against the enemy, and he has to maybe grab a thick branch and then make an improvised spear with the knife or something. If it's something crazy like that, that's a very bad position for the soldier. He really messed up. His team members really messed up. They could all be dead, or they stranded for some reason, or it's a really, really bad situation. Everything went wrong if that's what's happening. And if you have the skill set to fight with a knife, like you're all out of bullets, you don't have your assault rifle, you don't have your pistol for some reason, and all you got with you is a knife for some unknown reason, okay, that's a very bad situation, but you can still fight from there. That mindset where you go, all I got is my knife. This is the worst possible situation for a soldier, but I still know how to fight. That does a lot for a person mentally, So I think it's more for that, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, realistically, you want to use the knife. It's so that if they came at you, which is a bad situation, and got close and they're trying to take away your rifle, you could stop that from happening. But other than that, like I said, if it's just the knife, then I believe it's more so for your soul, for your spirit to go, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep surviving. I'm still good here, so it's that mentality. And as far as the stick training, because we do obviously a lot of stick training, for self-defense, for regular citizens, and we live in the city, the stick represents any kind of weapon that can be held with one hand. So it's for improvised weapons training. But for the military, I don't think why are they doing improvised weapons training? In fact, like I said, if they're doing improvised weapons, it's a very bad situation. They have specialized weapons. They're given weapons, right? So they should be using those weapons. If they're going to the stick, it's for the machete. Okay, so in the Philippines, they're going to be using the bolo. And like I said, they're battling terrorists. So if there are battling terrorists in the jungle, it doesn't have to be the Philippines. It could be some other military where if you're deployed in the jungle, you're going to have to clear out and make a path, at least to be able to get through. And the machete is very, very useful. If you get attacked at that point, you may not have the time to get to your assault rifle. So in that case, if you could just already use the machete, that's great. That's going to make things a little bit better for you. So I believe it's for that reason. And also when you're walking around, when your rifle's just hanging and you're not, constantly walking around with the rifle, you might have the machete in your hand. The machete is going to be just, you know, it could be used as a tool for survival and everyday carry in that kind of environment. Not obviously for, you know, for us civilians, but if you're out there in the field, a machete is EDC carry, you know, everyday carry. And so in that case, you're more likely to have a machete in your hand, and it's perfectly normal. And if you get attacked at that point, you're ready to go. So that was one of the things that an operator asked me. He said, you know, in third world countries, we fear the machete. So how do you defend against the machete? And I said to him, I said, the Filipino martial arts logic is if you want to learn how to defend against something like a machete, well, you got to first learn how to use it. So that's our logic. That's how we, you know, learn this kind of stuff. So I told him exactly what I believe is what was taught to me, and I still stand by that today. So I said that to him, you know. So I believe in that case, then the stick skills is more for machete bolo training, okay, to develop those skills. So to me, military is, you're talking about something like that. If you are like, you know, one of the Gurkhas in Tibet and stuff, then you're going to be using, instead of a machete, you'll be using a Gurkha knife, but in a similar way. You know, it's used for their EDC and their wilderness survival because they're going to be out in the fields. In their case, up in the mountains. You know, so in that case, it comes in handy because a rifle isn't going to clear, you know, vegetation, and you can't use it like that, you know, or it'd be a big waste. You'd have to do like what they did in Predator, which mow down the whole forest or something. But that's a big waste of bullets. So so that to me is the military aspect of Filipino martial arts. So I hope that clears up some things. That's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.